Alright, no fucking around. No time for Peggle jokes. I'm getting right into this one. You guys voted for it? You're gonna get it. Peggle is a... wait a minute. Splendor is a game released in 2014, designed and developed by Marc Andre. It was developed under 24 different publishers, including some real big shots, like Days of Wonder, Space Cowboys, and Asmodee. Splendor is like a chip collecting card development kind of game. You play as a merchant of the Renaissance, which, by the way, didn't exist. It didn't happen. Comment below if you also think that the Renaissance is fake. And you're trying to collect gems. When you collect enough permanent gems in the forms of cards, you will have enough prestige to be visited by a royal merchant. When they visit you, you get free points, which leads to the end of the game. The rules are extremely simple, and this is probably the last language-dependent game I'm going to make a review on for this channel. The board games after these next few reviews get a little bit more complicated, you know, after next week's love letter video. So on your turn, you have one action to spend in the following three ways. You can pick up chips, buy a card, reserve one card. The cards that you buy count as permanent gems that you can count towards later to purchase more expensive cards. The endgame usually features no one picking up chips and everyone just picking up whatever gets them points or whatever they can get for free using the cards that they already have. Now let's go over a piece inspection. First things first, you'll open up the box, and inside you'll find, oh, what the fuck is this? Okay, quick thing. The box for this game fucking sucks. I can never get these pieces to stay in place. I'm always rearranging every single thing every single time I want to play a game. This shitty, easily already dented upon purchase plastic tray everything is supposed to fit in is a fucking nightmare. Some games, like Puzzle Strike, have cardboard chips in a plastic container that fit snugly and all horizontally. Putting stacks of like 5 plastic chips vertically in a flimsy plastic tray is a nightmare. I would gladly have paid more money for this to be in a better container. Inside you'll find one of my favorite instruction manuals. This explains very clearly every possible scenario and setup you could have. It's very informative, lore heavy, and actually useful. The back has a bit about the author and the artist of the game. It describes the author, Marc Andre, as good-looking, tall, and athletic, and having a godlike body worthy of a game designer. Is the game as fun as the instruction manual is? Let's find out. So like I said, the main mechanic of the game is chip collecting and card development. You rely heavily on the cards that you get pulled randomly from these stacks. Your goal is to work your way upwards. The amount of nobles at the top and the chips available to you changes with the amount of players that you have. The box says 2 to 4, but I feel like 3 players is the best. 4 is an unreliable clusterfuck, kind of like I mentioned in previous reviews. Probably every previous review that I've done up to this point. And 2 just turns it into kind of like a really nasty game of praying for correctly colored cards and hoping that you don't get sabotaged by the person you're playing against just to screw you out of some points. 3 players lets you keep the tension and the development of the cards on the table pretty steady. Plastic pieces feel very nice to hold, and shuffling the cards is surprisingly easy compared to a normal deck. Other games have smaller cards like the original Ticket to Ride, which are almost impossible to fucking shuffle. I'm gonna pause the piece review to talk about the dynamics of the nobles. As an idea, the concept of being rewarded for specific colored cards is a very dangerous one. Depending on the poll at the beginning of the game, you can really emphasize 1 or 2 different colors. This changes the cards that people go for and gives a very distinctly unfair advantage to the people that go first. The person who goes first is usually the same person to buy first, unless someone else reserves it. The act of reserving a card gives you 1 chip that can be used as any color as opposed to 3 different chips or 2 of the same kind depending on the amount of colors that are left. Again, I'm not going to go over that. Reserving cards early game absolutely kills your gem economy, as you're only picking up 1 gem as opposed to 3. This is especially bad since people tend to hoard and spend all of their chips in one turn. This will set you way back, because you'll be scrounging for the last color chips that you need, and oops, they're all gone now. You have no options of what you're picking up, so you've lost, at best, a turn. At worst, you have to rearrange what you're doing for the next ones, if not swapping out tokens later on, just because you reserved one on early game. The strategy in this game kind of just boils down into speccing into whatever colors are most appropriate for the nobles that have been picked, and just hoping that the right colors show up at the right place at the right time. This game is kind of one of those, and you'll realize this like other games, like Sushi Go is a really good example, that once your group kind of has it figured out, it'll never really be the same. Before that point, it's very enjoyable and very rewarding to trade in 7 chips in combination with your permanent cards to get a noble to win the game out of fucking nowhere. As far as difficulty goes, I'm gonna give this game another 1. Don't worry, I promise that they're gonna start getting harder. This is probably one of, if not the easiest board game that I own. I'm pretty much gonna draw the line somewhere at, can my non-board game playing friends pick this one up? And when I set that benchmark with a game, I'm not sure which one it's gonna be yet. But when I do find a board game that fits that niche of like the towing the line between can people who like board games play this game versus can anybody play the game, you can bet your peggle playing ass that I'm going to compare everything to that as a cop-out. Between the gameplay mechanics, to replayability, to rules, to theme, to round duration, to quality compared to the price that you're paying for, I'm giving Splendor a solid 6. Now I know this rating seems pretty early on in the video, but that's for a couple of reasons. I have about as much fun playing this as I did Reef, and I honestly enjoyed both games in terms of the normal ways that I rank board games, which are the mechanics that I mentioned earlier, and they had almost the exact same score in every single category. I'm not going to judge you if you don't buy it, that's for sure. Splendor is sold at Target and Walmart for like $40. It's usually on sale on Amazon above, the $30 range. I don't ever recommend buying from these places, but if you want the game and you can't find it at your local board game retailer, and you want to buy something online just because of the current times, I would look in those places. If you are unsure, Days of Wonder, one of the publishers, made an iOS and a PC app for this game. I believe that everyone playing, if you're going to play with a group of friends, has to have the app, unless you just want to play against computers and random people. Steam currently has it on sale for $10. This requires that everyone that you're playing with owns the game so you can directly connect to them. Since you can only play with a maximum of 4 people, it still comes out to the same price of $40, so it's really not that bad. Otherwise, you're just going to be playing against, like I said, computers and random people. A review on the Steam store by a Mr. Splendor who recommends the game and says that it is quote-unquote quite addicting. He also has almost the same amount of time on this game that I do on Rainbow Six Siege at the time of recording this video. The Steam version of this game also has a really nice UI when playing, and I really enjoy the way that it's set up, pretty much automated. Special DLC board game time! Yay! Remember the Twitter poll that I announced? It included all the DLC, which I happen to own. The Steam store has the individual expansions on sale as DLC. Sadly, they're missing the best one, and that's the Orient. All of the expansions in real life come inside this box, called the Cities of Splendor expansions. This is much harder to find, and usually sells for $40 as well. This is particularly interesting because you don't find a lot of games that have all of the expansions together, and they're the same price as the base game, and you need the base games to play them. If you're gonna buy one of these games from Big Daddy Jeffy B, then it should be this one. This is not a standalone game. You will need both the base game and the expansion in order to play this. I'm only making this distinction because unfortunately there's no standard in the board game world. Cities of Splendor was developed by Space Cowboys, the same one who made the Steam and mobile version of the original game, and it released in 2017, which was 3 years after the original release of the game. Cities includes 4 new ways to play Splendor. The first one, also named Cities, focuses on cities instead of noble. You can only win the game by collecting a city instead of just 15 points. The requirements vary from city to city, but I like it better that way. If you actually disliked the over-centralization of the noble tiles in the base game, then you'll be surprised to find that making them the sole win condition actually improves the quality of the game. The requirements for the cities are a combination of random points, usually around 15, so same as the base game, but also having a certain color card combination. I very much enjoy this very weird pseudo rebalancing of the nobles. On to the next one. So, the Orient. Orient is my absolute favorite way to play Splendor. I will always default to this expansion, and sometimes we do a combination of cities and the Orient for a very unique way to play. The Orient adds different cards with a ton of cool requirements and rewards, from discarding 2 of your permanent cards in order to gain a card of a different color, to earning cards of a lesser value or even for free, to copying the previous card color that you collected. That you get to copy that, so you can get, if you pick up a green last 3 turns ago and you pick up this other card that has like just a bag on it, you get another green. That's like, it's really cool. You get to earn Joker tokens depending on the specific cards that you pick up. Yeah, this expansion really adds more than one layer of depth and really stands out from the rest, and I highly recommend it. Oh, Strongholds. God. Strongholds has to be single-handedly the worst expansion of a board game I've ever played in my fucking life. I hate the idea of, let's enhance the game by limiting everybody's progress. Strongholds lets you like pseudo-reserve the cards that you want so that no one else can purchase them but you. It usually turns into everyone gets a stronghold on the bottom row. And now you're even more dependent on the gem pulls and the card pulls, which is horseshit. This easily makes the game twice as long and does nothing. It adds nothing of value. 0 out of 5, the Stronghold version is by far the worst. It might actually be the worst board game I've ever played, the worst version of a board game I've ever played in the past 3 years, if not ever. I despise it with everything. God, I hate it so much. Okay, Trading Post. Trading Post is the last expansion. Trading Post allows you to establish these like trading routes and obtain privileges that let you get to your goal faster, which is again 15 points. I will mention that the coat of arms tokens are completely average, but the cardboard playing piece specific to the expansion is very nice. This is the most complicated out of all of the expansions, and overall actually shortens the game by letting you obtain the points faster. The winning requirement for all of the games in Splendor, except for cities, obviously, is to get 15 points. They're all the same. So at least it stays consistent, and I do really appreciate that. The complexity of learning all the expansions varies, and I would probably rate the entire thing a 2 out of 5. Trading Post is by far the most complicated. I recommend playing the base game a couple of times first, because that way you absolutely need a solid grasp of the game mechanics in order to move on to the expansions. At its worst, an expansion can be pure trash. I wish I had never played it. God, I hate Strongholds so much. It's a 0 out of 10. I fucking hate it. At its best, it fucking slaps. It slaps so hard. I love the Orient and the cities hybrid that my friends have kind of created. I would rate that specific makeshift version of the game at least an 8 out of 10. It is so much fun. It's strong. Strong 8 out of 10. Sadly, that's not the base game, and that's not the standard that everybody plays whenever they play Splendor. Like I said, that's just a thing that my friends and I do that if you have the game, you're more than willing to adopt. Buying the physical copies of Splendor and the all-in-one expansion that comes it will probably set you back about $80. Not many board games are worth $80, especially not one that's barely a 2 out of 5 in complexity. That being said, I would recommend that if you're going to go ahead and dump money for Splendor, you might as well go all the way and buy the best version of the game. Get Cities of Splendor expansion with it, use Cities, do the Orient, fucking have the most fun with it, right? That's what it's all about. Did you enjoy the view? Consider subscribing for more content similar to this one. Have you played the game? Let me know what you think down below. If you are watching this in the future, I'm sure that I'm already putting up a poll for a pinned tweet to do another board game review. So, check my account. It's in the description. There is a link. It is at OctavianX with a 0, not an O at the beginning, to vote on an upcoming review. Thanks, and I'll see you guys in the next one.